What you gonna do when it all comes back to the place that you never wanted it to come back to? And where you gonna roll when the bottom drops out and you got no place to go? Who you gonna trust when trust is a must? You better roll with the rest of us. So pack your bags and all the faith you can, cause it's about ready to hit the fan. Come to the ready. 2012 brought about the re-election of an antichrist. Come to the ready.
Good evening. My name is Pierce Kibbe. I'm the founder and chief instructor for PROXEMIC, a locally owned business here in Lakeland, Florida, and a veteran-owned business. We specialize in making tactical practical, and that is our motto. So if you ever have any questions, we have training and backgrounds in executive protection, in performing disaster preparedness and helping you and your family get prepared, or communications plans. And we can help those that are just beginning and shooting or have never shot before to those that are more experienced. We offer many different trainings in those areas, along with helping you prepare for any survival situations, along with church and other houses of worship, and assessing your teams and force-on-force training. So please feel free as the series progresses to offer any comments or suggestions that you may have. So again, this is the 6 domains of situational awareness, right? So we started off the first day, we talked about the baseline, looking again for what is happening that shouldn't be, or what isn't happening that should be, right? You're looking for those groups of things that are sticking out to you, that's giving you that gut instinct, or that feeling on the back of your neck that something isn't right. Then we moved into kinesics, so body language, understanding and being able to interpret folks' body language, and understanding, is it a dominant trait, a non-dominant trait? Is it something where they're showing that they're interested or not interested? Are they comfortable or uncomfortable? And we're putting all that in to factor those anomalies for. Yesterday's video was focused on the biometric cues, those uncontrollable body responses that we do and don't even realize at first, right? So uncontrollable sweating if we're anticipating or angry or frustrated or anything like that, breathing heavy. A lot of constant blinking or shifting of the body weight, different things like that, looking down, not even realizing that you're doing it, but you are. Clenching of the fists as that limbic system response kicks into the fight or flight, flee, or posture or submit, right? So keeping into that, we're going to work on PROXEMICS tonight. So let's move on. Again, there's my contact information. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask or comment in the bottom. So what are the 6 domains of situational awareness, right? Let's go back to this chart that we've used. So we started off with the baseline. Then we moved to kinesics, biometric cues. Now we're going to work on PROXEMICS. So when you're looking at that, you think PROXEMICS, what could that be? Well, proximity, right? How close is too close? And remember, as we're assessing that baseline, we have to be cognizant of the different cultures, environments, geography that we're in and around, because that can change. So when you're thinking about that, here in the US, we like our bubble, right? You've heard the comment, may have made it yourself, of, oh, they were in my bubble, I felt uncomfortable, they were really close. Well, you've got different distances that are classified here in the US that we go by typically, right? So we're looking at our intimate distances, our personal, our social, and our public. Especially here in the US, we're very sensitive about our intimate, okay? The 2 fists away, the kissing distance, as it's called, 18 inches or less, to where that's reserved for somebody that we really know well, that we're really close with, our spouse, our kids, family members, somebody like that, somebody that we trust a lot, because the closer somebody is, the sooner that they can cause you harm, keeping in mind action versus reaction. If we're on the reaction side, we'll always be behind, because we're having to recognize what their action is and the intent of it. We're having to formulate a plan, and we have to act upon that plan, as opposed to they're the actual stimuli that's initiating it, right? So Wikipedia defines PROXEMICS as study of human spatial requirements and the effects that population density has on behavior, communication, and social interaction. In layman's terms, we're just focusing on how close or how far to somebody interacts with our daily environment, right? If we go to a grocery store and somebody says, "Oh, hey, how's it going, Pierce?" and they're way out past this public distance, over 3.6 meters away, 10 feet or so, then we're going to do a couple things, right? We're going to go, "Hey, how's it going?" Now, we're doing a couple different things with that. We're acknowledging them, but at the same time, we're using our hand up in the air as that sort of nonverbal of stop. I really don't know you, I'm acknowledging you, but I'm still trying to use this distance to my advantage and figure out friend or foe. How do I know you? How do you know me? So, keeping in mind that, if you go to an urban environment or a special event, something like that, people are going to be in your bubble, and a lot of folks don't much care for it. Why? We like our space. We like that ability for that reactionary gap, that time to respond if necessary to the situation or the environment. However, in a very closed-in environment, such as going to a theme park, a concert, anything like that, people are constantly in and out of that bubble, and that can make a lot of people very uncomfortable. So as we talked about, intimate was 2 fists away from your body. And this is where, again, like we said, people are emotionally, you let them close to you because you know them. They're allowed to get in close to you and you're not threatened. Then you got the personal. Now, that's the one handshake. "Hey, how you doing?" That whole first impression, you get in there, make a good handshake. You're within arm's distance, and that's a very personal area because they're still close to you, still does not have a lot of time for that reactionary gap for you to react. But it is the distance that you would stand during a normal friendly gathering, going out to a restaurant or something like that, and you happen to see somebody coming in or something. Or you do happen to notice somebody in the grocery store as you're standing in line. Then you've got social. That's going to be 2 arm lengths away, approximately. That's the distance you stand with people you don't know. Why? Because it adds to that reactionary gap. That gives you time to respond, that should you recognize that there is some intent there that is not friendly, you have a better room, more space to respond, right? And then, of course, the public. That's 3.6 meters away, the distance that you feel comfortable when addressing a big group of people, i.e. you're getting up here to give a presentation to an audience or something like that. You want that distance to interact with them so they're not feeling so close, and that proximity isn't like an invasion of your space. It gives you room to walk around, to move freely without feeling restricted. So, what do we have to understand? Well, we have to understand that the different cultures treat that proximity different, right? And that has to be used to establish your baseline. So we talked about different cultures. So here in the US, we like our bubble. But when you go over to other countries, a lot of times, that is how they communicate. They get in very close to you, they like to touch and be hands-on, and they like to be in that intimate distance to speak with you. It's not personal, it's part of their culture. And you have to understand it. And again, the same thing with the eyes, like we talked about before, establishing that baseline. Here in the US, we're typically taught maintain eye contact, right? It's a sign of respect. You're establishing that eye contact to let the speaker know that you are listening and that you are paying attention and that you are interested in what they have to say. As opposed to other cultures, they do not have that same approach. Their approach is you do not make eye contact because it's seen as intimidating, it's seen as a challenge, and it's not respectful. So you do have to be mindful that if you are to travel to a different location or where there's going to be an encounter of a different culture, do your own due diligence and learn before you go and get in that environment what is proper etiquette and what is not. That way you're not sticking out as much because we often do. And I've learned that the hard way too from traveling to other countries, that you have to get used to other people being in close to you even though you don't know them, and they may very well be in that personal to intimate distance even though you've never met them before in your life. Be aware of your personal bubble and how it can drastically change, again, as in a concert or a special event, and again, a different country or culture. And understand the context. Again, remembering it's not personal, it is part of their culture, so don't take it personally. Just take it in stride, Don't get all tense. Don't think they're trying to come in and invade your space unless you're starting to realize that the baseline for that area, even from what you've done on your own due diligence, is not matching what it should. And you've got that feeling that something really isn't right because your subconscious is starting to pick up on things. So take that time to stop and think. Remember, stop, S-T-O-P. S stands for stop, T for think, O for observe, and P for plan. So take that time. Or you may just be having the time to just do a quick hasty assessment, right? You're just going in there as you're walking into a room, walking into a restaurant, walking into a concert, something like that, and you're having to take in what is the baseline for this area. Again, remember the time of year and the different location, geography-wise, that you are located. Again, here in Florida, summertime, I'm not going to expect somebody to typically be in heavy clothing and gloves and different things like that. However, go up north and you may very well see that depending on the area or into another country, right? So what is a proxemic pull or a proxemic push? A pull. It occurs when a person or a group is drawn to other persons, objects, or places. So something such, again, as a concert, a special event, and this is taking into account that it's a good thing, right? That the people are being drawn there because it's a good thing. You know, you happen to walk down the street and you notice a small group of people and they're smiling and they're having fun. What's the natural thing that we're going to do? We're going to be curious. So what are we going to do? We're going to be pulled into that situation and say, hey, what's going on? As opposed to if you hear a lot of angry yelling or vulgarity, or you happen to see some, punches or something like that being thrown. Hopefully you're not going over there because you're understanding that that is instead pushing you away. You don't want to go over there. And again, like we talked about there, it can be for positive or for negative reasons, right? It can be, it's something, it's a great time, it's a celebration, or it can be something to where you really don't want to be part of an initiation of some sort that isn't for the better of folks. And be aware of where you are, again, geographically and culturally. Pay attention to the news. Multiple sources, preferably, so that you get an idea and a very wide ability and understanding of what may or may not be going on there. So you've got the right context. A push. Again, a movement away from a person, a group, a place, or an object, right? So we talked about a push. That's something that's hopefully drawing you in because it's a feel-good feeling. You see people smiling, you're reading that body language, you see that it's happy, as opposed to a sullen body language, somebody that's getting fired at work, right? So you happen to notice that the boss is chewing out somebody and maybe, finger pointing or getting in somebody's face or closing that distance. And you read that body language and you're like, I didn't need to ask one of those persons a question, but now is not the time. So of course they can be pushing you away. Or you happen to be walking into a new area or different restaurant or something like that, and you notice that just something sticks out to you and isn't right. So you use that acronym STOP, S-T-O-P. You're assessing that baseline and you go, you know what? I need to go away. Something's not right. It can be to avoid a real or a potential threat. And of course, fear and the uncertainty, right? We talked about how at night our senses degrade, and our biggest sense that degrades is going to be our sight. We rely most heavily upon our sight, and at night, because it degrades, we have more of a fear of the uncertainty, a fear of the unknown, because we don't really know what to expect. Now, that can be one of those situations where people go, I don't know why folks carry all this stuff on them, even if it's a gun or not a gun. What about a flashlight? A flashlight can come in more handy than you realize, and that's because you're not used to it. You see something dark, you're looking at something, you're trying to look at the back of a shelf or in a corner of your house, or you're checking your car. It's just handy to have a flashlight on you. It's a great tool. Of course, it can be used for other purposes too, but overall, the biggest tool it gives you is to help your sight. So if you notice something that's dark, you're walking up to your car at night and you notice it's kind of dark out or the light's out above your car, you can turn on that flashlight, illuminate. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not being paranoid. That's being the proactive side instead of being reactive and getting over there and realizing by that time it's too late and you're in a bad situation that you could have avoided just by having a flashlight to shine over there. You don't have to carry a big mag light with 3 or 4 batteries in it. You can carry a very small light, and keep in mind you get what you pay for. Yes, they have lights that attach to your chain that are actually pretty bright. They have small little lights that can run off the CR123 batteries or AA's. Me personally, I prefer double or AAA's because they're a very common battery and easy to get. And again, redundancy. I have multiple pieces of equipment and gear that I utilize that uses AA's or AAA's. So it's not hard, especially if you're using rechargeable batteries, right? So just remember, a pull is going to be something that pulls you into it. Hopefully because it's something where you see people having fun and smiling and you're reading that body language, right? The kinesic side of it, or the biometric cues. You notice that people are breathing normally, they're not red in the face, they're not, just anticipating back and forth walking. As opposed to a push, that is something you typically want to avoid. Something is pushing you away. You just get a bad feeling about it. You're reading that body language, the kinesic side of it. You're reading those biometric cues. You notice maybe that people are standing there with their fists clenched, that they're breathing heavily, right? So that's proxemics. So remember, proxemics is proximity. The next one will be geographics, right? So location, location, location. But this sums up what we're talking about with proxemics. Again, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, anything like that, please feel free to include them in the comments. I look forward to that. Again, I'm not just an instructor, I'm also a student, and I like to learn. And I can only make presentations and my own professional development better by those with different experiences and knowledge. And your knowledge may help somebody else in the comments below just because you happen to have a resource. It's a really good resource to share, right? So remember, Proverbs 22:3, New Living Translation says, what? Prudent person foresees danger and takes precautions. The simpleton goes blindly on and suffers the consequences. Which one are you?